In a lot of relationship dynamics, you have a guy who will hit a girl, and of course, like, he'll profess remorse and say it'll never happen again.
Yeah.
And there are women that like hear that, and they've invested time and passion and love in this person, and they want it to be true, and then they stay on that basis.
Yeah.
You know, but there's a complex psychology about both sides of this. And I think that, you know, like a lot of these people, like, again, they've invested, they've brought themselves to love this person. And then when it goes south, they want it to work out. They want it to find a way. They want him to be better. You know, a lot of women go into relationships with the notion that they're going to improve the man.
That too.
In some way, you know, maybe not obviously with violence, but just improve. I'll get him to dress better. I'll get him to be on time. I'll get him to whatever. And, you know, that doesn't always work out. Like, a lot of times we revert to form.
On the physical abuse thing, because we didn't hit that last week at all, and so out of pure ignorance, and that is, look up the dictionary term, out of pure ignorance, I want to ask a question, okay? Now, apparently, I guess, I don't know, it never registered. So Diddy and Cassie were married.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No. I mean, well, that's what the guy on the stand said, like, that she said her husband. That could have been just a loose term.
Yeah, I don't think
I know
that
they were
that's
together for a while.
Yeah, I don't think that they were legally married.
Okay.
And she may have represented it as my husband to make
just
that guy
that
feel
situation.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird. He comes to the front door. Hey, this guy I just met downstairs. He wants to watch. He assures me he's not gay and he won't interfere. But you know, he's just going to be over there.
So you get two people that are together for a long time. Okay, now hear me out on this. Two people together for a long time. If the guy beats up on the woman, I don't think any man should ever put his hands on a woman in a physical, way. All right, and if he's beating her up and dragging her out and doing all of this crazy stuff, okay, he should be under the jail. But if he's doing that repeatedly over the course of years, and the people around the woman, she's not like by herself in I know some women can be in crazy situations, but the people that she does have people around her, they are asking to help, demanding to help. They are, providing her with resources to help. Okay. They are, she has other men that she's romantically involved with during this time who's willing to help, who also has money and resources, not as much as the man that's beating you up and dragging you out, but still he has money and resources. How much fucking money and resources and opportunities do you want? Okay. And if that is going on for a considerably amount of time and she keeps going back and doesn't want help and doesn't want you to call the police, doesn't want you to do anything to him, I don't know. I mean, where do you want? Why do I have to have sympathy for that? Why do I have to want the guy to be in prison for that if she's going? I don't know. And this is why, and leads to other points as well, right? Because, okay, if a guy walks into a store, right? Well, if a guy walks into the 7-Eleven and the 7-Eleven owner is there, the clerk is there, and the guy goes and he grabs a Coke, some gummy bears, and some fucking diapers, right? And he got it in his hand.
It's up for a big night.
And he walks out.
Yeah.
And he walks out.
Theft.
Doesn't pay. What is that called?
Theft.
But what is it called when he does that over and over again with the owner and the clerk looking right at him and they never say anything? What is that called?
I don't know what you call it. I mean, it is. I mean, it's still theft. What are you trying to get to? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, exactly. What are we doing? That's my point to bring that up is what are we doing? The clerk and it never does anything, and that goes for like I came up with like 100 different situations, but I don't have to go through them. But my point is like, yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it becomes a bizarre and in some ways, fascinating dynamic.
And can I cut you off 1 second?
Yeah, go
Because I have a short story here.
Go ahead.
There was a woman in my family, close relative. I don't want to say the name or how relation, because then everybody will know. It was a guy that was beating her ass. And one particular night, he beat her ass pretty good. Okay?
Yeah.
The men in the family got all riled up. We ready to go. Okay? To do anything to do harm on this man. Okay? This is a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay? In her house that she's paying the rent for. This guy don't even pay rent there.
Right.
Okay? But still is her boyfriend. And she, like, at the last minute, she stops us. Okay? She continues to be with this guy. Then she gets married to the guy next month.
The next month?
The next month. She gets married to that guy.
Wow.
Again, what do we fucking do with that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I guess the analogy I would draw to, it almost becomes like a drug addiction. And at various points that people have like an addictive problem, there are people that are close to them and try to intervene or intervention or what have you to try to help them, try to, put them in situations where they have rules and this and that. But so many times the people are just drawn back to that drug and keep doing it. And they just become more kind of deceitful and dishonest and deceptive about how they do it. And I think that like some of these relationships that are toxic, they almost take on that same quality. Where it's just like there's some like just fundamentally almost addictive quality to the relationship that keeps these people going back to it. And the point, I mean, your story was significant because, again, you had a specific moment in time when you had help, you had people that wanted to do something, and you call that off. And for what? Why? You don't want that guy to be harmed. He just harmed you. I mean, there's a part of there's a mentality that's like an eye for an eye. And it's like, you beat me up, I want to watch you die. That's like some people react that way. But then other people, it's like they can't get out of their own way to let that happen. Or let that guy take a beating or get run out of town or whatever that's going to look like or take. And then maybe you have a chance to be free of it. And she's not alone, and there's certainly indications with Cassie that she's in this similar mental space. I mean, because again, it's weird. She had other relationships during the time with Diddy, and that's one of the things. Like sometimes
with other powerful guys.
Yeah, sometimes you can look at a person and like they're in a situation and they don't feel like there's any other options as far as like even if they want to call it love or whatever.
And I understand that.
But when she gets free enough or enough space that she actually starts another relationship with another person, and again, somebody who has some resources could theoretically protect her or remove her or whatever, and then you go back, that's really some dark addictive quality that she's displaying toward him. I mean, it's very disturbing. And again, you could say, oh, it's really unfortunate, but for me, I always like there's always a point where it's just like, if you're not interested in helping yourself, and people have tried and given good efforts, and you're not doing your part to get out of this is what you want.
This is what you want. And then when you mix that, the disturbing quality of wanting to go back, and this is not when you have everything else, and then when you mix that with everything else that we've heard, that you wanted guys to pee on you, that you wanted a lot of this stuff, it's like, yeah, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
How, I'm trying to avoid being fucking, because we're gonna put the clip up, and I know, but and this is the thing, and a lot of women they're going to disagree with that so harshly, and they're going to like call me out of my name and whatever, and tell me my mom sucks, horse penis and all of that, but this is why Trump is in office 2 times. This is why, because we don't, in the back of like men's minds, we don't trust women to be fucking president over the world. Like we don't women fight for equal rights and the rights to vote and this and that all throughout the course of history of mankind. And you can't even leave a man that's beating your ass. like men, I don't understand the psychology of that. Now I understand other women do, but I don't understand the psychology of that. It makes no sense. I told Pink off air about Ray Rice, the NFL player who was with the Baltimore Ravens, who beat his wife in the elevator. Beat his wife in the elevator. Beat her ass. If you remember back then, the NFL player beating his wife in the elevator. You know, they're still together. You know, he's not in the NFL. He's not even making NFL money. He got,
he
got kicked out of the
kind
NFL.
of got almost blackballed from the league.
Blackballed.
And I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do,
Right.
but like his career effectively
Yeah.
ended with that action.
They were boyfriend and girlfriends at the time.
Yeah.
They ended up getting married after
Yeah,
that
reconciled and
altercation.
got married
They
after
reconciled
the
and got
altercation.
married. And that wasn't his first time beating that lady, and that's not going to be the last. You know, but it's like I don't know.
Okay, so again, when I step back and look at it,
And Perk says Kid Cudi hit the stand tomorrow, so that will be
get
good to hear.
some insight. So when I look at it, though, I don't really look at it so much as purely a female issue. I kind of look at it as like almost like through the lens of like an addiction thing, or just people like in general that can't get their shit together.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, there's men that do it. There's men. I mean, like, we're big sports guys. There's athletes who have tons of talent and cannot get out of their own way.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's drugs, laziness, just whatever. And I feel that there's psychological similarities to those situations. And then the other psychology you want to look at is the man. And now you mentioned like, probably not the first time he hit her, won't be the last, and stuff like that. Like as a man, once you strike a woman essentially unprovoked, like I don't know that you could come back from that. I'm not a huge redemption guy, but there's a part of me that feels like once you've crossed that barrier and hit a woman like on your own accord or like without provocation like that, like you're probably not going to stop.
That's what I'm saying. I think you are that guy.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you do it the first time.
Yeah.
And most people are raised where they're told from very early age, you don't hit a girl, you don't hit a woman. And like, so you have that general awareness. Now, some people grow up in an environment where they see the opposite and they have to process and deal with that and figure out how to move forward. But most people are raised with the concept of a man's not hitting a woman, not supposed to do that. And then once you cross that line, like then I don't see you coming back.
Yeah. It's just like we talk about. I remember you saying that about the like child pornographers and stuff like that in stories we were having in the past. It's like there's no what's the term you use for that?
Redemption.
Yeah.
I don't think you could be redeemed from that. I don't think that you go down that road, lose your temper to that extent, and then realize, hey, one time only.
Yeah.
And then, but the crazy part is, in a lot of relationship dynamics, you have a guy who will hit a girl. And of course, like he'll profess remorse and say it'll never happen again.
Yeah.
And there are women that like hear that and they've invested time and passion and love in this person and they want it to be true. And then they stay on that basis.
Yeah.
But there's a complex psychology about both sides of this. And I think that, like a lot of these people, like, again, they've invested, they've brought themselves to love this person. And then when it goes south, they want it to work out. They want it to find a way. They want him to be better. A lot of women go into relationships with the notion that they're going to improve the man.
That too.
In some way, maybe not obviously with violence, but just improve. I'll get him to dress better. I'll get him to be on time. I'll get him to whatever. And, that doesn't always work out. Like a lot of times we revert to form of whatever our form is.
Yeah.
And so I think
I think that's nature of people.
But you have that dynamic where you're kind of going into it and you're kind of have like an unpolished stone and you think you're going to improve that. And so you're kind of bringing that psychology, and then if domestic violence occurs, it's, oh yeah, he's really sorry. Like he didn't mean to do it. Like there's excuse. He was under a lot of stress at work or whatever. At the end of the day, he did it. And you are best served getting away from it, no matter how painful it may be, no matter what that may look like. Because to stay there is to stay in a danger zone.